Okay, great. Uh, Thanks, everybody. My name is Thaddeus Worstop. I am a principal solutions architect with AWS. I've been with AWS for going on 6 years, and one of the areas that I'm passionate about is agentic AI. So today I'm going to take you through kind of a typical experience that I have with customers, where I think agentic AI has kind of become very popularized. So it's not really always technical folks that I'm working with. There's a line of business people that are really excited about their ideas. So I'm going to kind of run through a scenario there. So we'll do a bit of a demo. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that. So I took on the persona over the weekend of a customer service resource, and this customer service resource had pulled down one of the agentic AI coding solutions and used their expertise as one of the Angelbeat audio customer services resources, understanding what workflows they typically see. And they leveraged Kiro, which is, as you can see on the screen, the AI IDE for prototype to production, and it allows you to very easily kind of provide natural language prompts and build solutions. So I use that agent's information to understand the backend systems that they interacted with for servicing their customer requests, and I put it into a natural language prompt. And within about 45 minutes, Kiro went through and built the agents that I needed, integrated with the backend that I provided the information on, and built out this full demo for me. So the demo itself was built all within about 45 minutes over the weekend. So we ended up with this Angelbeat audio customer service. So this is built with all serverless technologies in the back end. So DynamoDB for the persistent stores, Lambda for functions, API gateways, Bedrock for the model invocation, and the CloudWatch monitoring on top of this. And what we created is a tool that can help customers interact with support orders. They can get information about the systems that they should run based on their audio needs, place orders, etc. So I've got some pre-populated scenarios here, but we'll start with a simple one. So let's see, we've got a scenario here where somebody just needs some basic information on professional studio monitors and a new audio interface. And this is going to go back to the AI agent. The AI agent is going to then search based on some of the terms that it pulled out of the guide. Based on the products it finds, it will go and check inventory levels for those products, and then it will summarize the response and pass back information based on the user's context. So pretty simple example here. We can see kind of the tools use, but if we get into a little more complex scenario where in this situation, the user came in and they've got a need to set up a podcast studio. And this time they provided a budget that all the systems need to fall within. And they made it even more complex because in the same invocation, they brought up that they had an order issue that they wanted to address both of these things. So we can see that the agent is still going to break down into individual steps and make the invocations. It saw that the user had passed the identity in, so it's going to get the customer information, check the order status that they had a problem with, still look up the information that they need for the new order that they want to do, create the ticket for the return, and provide the recommendation. And it's going to be able to provide a robust recommendation within the budget. And this is, still going to be that fully, multi-turn interaction that you would expect out of traditional generative AI chatbot. So if the users have follow-ups or they want to see the information presented differently, they can easily respond there. This also has the ability to place orders. So you can see at the end here, it's saying that this professional setup could be delivered to them. It's got net 30 terms based on the lookup from the customer that it checked, and that it also created a ticket for us. So if we wanted to, provide a response that, they said this is a high priority ticket. Maybe I'm going to be out of town for a few days and I don't want to support resource reaching out right now. You can just say that, no. All right, so we're going to keep it complex where we're going to tell it to make changes to the ticket, but also that we want to place the order using our net 30 terms. Again, the agent's going to receive this request. It's going to check out the tools that it has, and then it's going to start making invocations. So it sees that it needs to update the support ticket. And all right, looks like we had a little bit of an issue there with our vibe coded demo. And we lost the context from the last chat. So fun of live demos on test systems. Apologize for that. I did test it. But if we run back through the scenario here, we'll just want to do two more things on the demo side. So this is going to highlight the need for observability. And when I get into my slides, we're going to talk about observability where we can look into the breakdown. We'll also look at some of the tools that can help with memory as we process through this. So hopefully everybody can kind of understand how these sorts of agentic tools can be used in whatever type of work you do. It doesn't have to be customer service. You can think about multi-step tasks that you do where maybe you need to get information, you need to enter information, you need to generate content. And it's very easy using generative AI agents to express that logic and get it done. All right, so we'll go ahead and place order and see if it works this time. So based on the placing order, it's going to go ahead and confirm the stock levels for the different items that were on the order, and then creating the order for us. So this is all interacting with real backend systems. So we can see here that it created the ticket for us. I just wanted to show that this is actually interacting with a live system here. So we can see some of the tables that it's using in this system for looking up customers, checking inventory, placing orders, etc. But we'll go ahead and go to the support tickets, and we're going to query for that ticket number that it said that it created. And we can see that the ticket is found and that the ticket was actually created when I placed that in there. And it has the information from the order. So this is something that you can build really quickly. I often see different customer line of business folks doing this, whether it's in, maybe a structured hackathon event or whether it's just someone that's passionate and very interested in generative AI. And because this is something that runs on serverless services, it can be extremely low cost, dollars a month to run this sort of solution, even at scale for a customer like this Angelbeat audio customer. So it can run for a relatively long time and drive real business value in something that people are building in the afternoon. But it's not something that I see, 2 years in being a successful pattern. And that's where we'll jump back into the presentation. So with this, oftentimes we see people start with this single agent. The single agent then becomes multiple agents because people start seeing what they do. The tools become more complex across departments. You get even more tools. And then we start needing to interact with agentic tools that are part of external systems. Maybe the ticketing provider that they use provided their own agents and their own MCP-based tools. But overall, the environment is just blowing up and growing very, very quickly. So this is something that creates a chasm between this POC or this pilot environment and what the large scale production looks like. So the excitement when this person over the weekend built a solution that saved hundreds of hours of time each month for their customer service reps and probably reduce the time it takes to process these customer requests from hours down to seconds. And that excitement starts to dwindle when more teams start coming in and they say, oh, well, we want to use this tool to run, competitive analysis. And, these processes may take up to 8 hours, or we want people to be able to pass in large images. And the system they built doesn't support that perhaps at the beginning. Maybe they're running this in Lambda like we were in the last environment, and we've got scale limits on the amount of data you can pass in. So some of these images may be larger than that. The run times are limited. So these, 5, 6 hour jobs may not fit in it. And you start to get all these little challenges with integrating with more tools. And, now we have 100 tools instead of 5 tools, and they don't all fit well into the agent's local tool use. So we end up having this gap or chasm between getting this meaningful long-term business value and what we had from the excitement. And that's where Bedrock Agent Core comes in. So Bedrock Agent Core is going to allow us to take those components that were built. So in this scenario, we had a strands agent. We can plug that strands agent in, but if it was a lang chain, lang graph, crew AI, whatever agent framework you happen to build in, you can plug that in. But you also get the ability to have a bunch of extra tools around it that lets you deal with these evolving needs that inevitably come up in enterprises. So I'm going to move pretty quickly through this since I know we don't have a lot of time. Within the deploy and securely scale, we have the Agent Core runtime and identity. Agent Core runtime is going to let you take that strands agent that was built in whatever fashion and just decorate it with some additional lines. So a few lines of code to tell it to run in Agent Core, a few lines of code to tell it to use the observability and identity. We'll talk about these individually, so we won't spend too much time on them now. But then it just bundles it as a Docker container that you can then run in Agent Core. So this is still the same AI agent that we had in that proof of concept pilot environment, now running in Agent Core with the additional observability and identity that you can now invoke with larger payloads. So if you have some multimedia content that you're passing in or dealing with these longer runtimes, you still get the startup in milliseconds, but ability to run longer. Now, the agent identity is really important. So as people start to integrate with more and more systems, having that source user's identity that invoked the agent passed through to the backend systems becomes critical because, like we heard earlier, we don't want to have the agent have its own identity used to invoke the backend tools. We want to continue providing the access that the user has through the backend system. So Agent Core Identity will do that. So we can have the inbound IAM or OAuth get passed to the different tools. So in our case, where we had those REST APIs, the OAuth identity of the user interacting with the system would get passed through to those backend systems. Next, when you have these backend systems, we need tools. And there are a lot of built-in tools with Agent Core that make this easier to work with. We'll take a look at each of these in turn. So Agent Core Gateway is going to give you an MCP endpoint. So I think everybody's probably familiar with MCP, so I won't spend too much time on it. But it's a tool that lets you interact more efficiently with backend resources through agentic AI. So in this case, Agent Core Gateway is going to let you just use your existing REST APIs. So most service providers or systems that you build likely have REST API endpoints. We can import those OpenAI API schemas into Agent Core Gateway, and now we have MCP tools. You don't have to build your own MCP servers. You can start interacting with these REST API endpoints via MCP. For resources that maybe don't have a REST endpoint, maybe it's a database from a legacy system, you can use a Lambda target and also now have MCP invocation. And then we have a growing list of integration partners. So Amazon, Salesforce.com, Asana, lots of different providers are actually building ready to use services. So in Agent Core Gateway, you can just point it to your Salesforce.com environment, and now you have the MCP endpoint to interact with those systems. And as you start getting more and more of these tools, and you have hundreds of tools, pulling back an MCP list and getting all those tools into your agents probably not going to be the best approach. So we also have the ability to do search. So you pass your semantic intent. So I want to create a social media post. It's going to look through the tools, and it's going to only provide back the most relevant tools. So now your agents can do dynamic discovery of all the tools that everybody builds. And as more tools are registered, your agents automatically become more robust. Now, we saw an issue in my demo. It wasn't an intended fail there, but uh, maintaining message integrity and multi-turn conversations is important because LLMs are stateless. LLMs aren't going to be able to deal with that multi-turn interaction on its own. So what we provide is agent memory as one of the built-in tools. And what's really cool about the agent memory, other than the fact that it'll actually work, unlike my demo, is it's got an automatic memory extraction. So if in part of my natural language interactions, I say, hey, I already know the product descriptions, save time and just give me the product part numbers. It can automatically extract my user preferences. So any user preferences that aren't stored in the table like that can then be stored in long-term memory and provide better interactions. It also has session persistent summaries. So I interacted with your agent to say that I have a problem with my ticket. And now when the next agent picks it up, maybe it's a sales agent, it can see the summary to understand that the user just had an issue, and whether that's through the automatic summaries or through the existing systems, it just makes it a more cohesive user experience. So the automatic memory extraction, I think, is really cool to provide those long-term user preferences and summaries of other interactions that the agents may have had. Now, if you don't have the database and you don't have the REST APIs, don't worry. You can still use a built-in tool of Agent Core Browser if there's a web interface. And this is going to let you pass in actions, and it's going to then do tool use through a headless browser. So you can go to a public website like Amazon.com and have it buy shoes as part of the interaction. So a lot of really cool tools that are built in, and the ability to easily add whatever extra tools you need through the gateway as your environment moves forward. One last tool is Code Interpreter. So LLMs aren't always the best at doing things like math. So maybe you have a code interpreter that lets it execute math in a code type environment. Maybe it needs to test something that it's built. Your agent's writing code or creating different queries that you want to run through a code interpreter. We have a built-in code interpreter that you can use as one of the default tools as well. And all of this is wrapped in the observability. So when you try to debug why something didn't happen, what the intermediary inputs are, observability is really important. So we have the built-in integrations to CloudWatch to be able to see all this. But just like any model, we can run with Gemini, with OpenAI, with Bedrock models, with any agent framework where we can do the different, LangChain, LangGraph, strands, Crew AI, etc. You also have open telemetry, so you can pass into whatever observability tool you want. And you can see an example here of an observability dashboard. And this is going to give you visibility into those intermediary steps. You're not just going to see the output. You're going to see that the AI agent decided to invoke this tool because of this reason. And this is the response it got back. So you can easily debug what you have. All this ends up in a full solution that can adapt to your changing needs. So as new invocations are required, as new visibility tools are adopted in your organization, new model providers, etc., this all scales very easily. So appreciate your time and attention, and I'll hand it off.